Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 164, Babylonian Conceptions of Heaven and Hell. A good little booklet, again, fairly short. Some of these are longer than others that I've been making. The average is like 150 pages or so. This one I think is only about 40 or 50, so fairly short. Excellent work. Link in the description to my edition of this work on Amazon. Second and third links are to my books blogs. If you're interested in the mythology sort of side of spirituality, there are some dozens of other works available. I believe Egyptian Realms of the Dead is one that I just did. I think that was the one that I did. There were two actual Egyptian works that I acquired. One of them is forthcoming. That'll probably be in the next, a few months that I do that. This is an intriguing little work. It goes a lot into the actual mythology as understood at the time, like with the idea of Marduk and Nergal and some of these other characters from within Sumerian Babylonian ideology. And you can actually see the sort of really oddly demented material that's there evolving over time and forming the backbone actually of what would become in much more recent times with like the Simon Necronomicon and some things, or even at the time really the works of Lovecraft, really beginning to influence the fictional and semi-fictional side of the occult, both occult fiction as a genre, beyond the sword and sorcery, typically dark gothic. It's kind of grueling, like Lovecraft, and then also the side that's more infotainment, you could say, that you get a lot of in the 70s and 80s with some of the new agery. Then again, Simon Necronomicon. The text itself not technically based on actual ancient documents, but names and some content very much real. The names of some of these various deities and demons and so forth. Some of the ritualism possibly based on, loosely on actual ritualism, or at least based on the Western tradition that takes off from it. I think that Babylon and Sumeria as well really underwhelmingly studied by a lot of people. It's like when you go to school. Until fairly recently, unless you were taking like an advanced placement world history course or something, you probably skipped more or less from the Paleolithic period to Egypt, and then you sort of skip to Greece and Rome. You don't really hear a lot about Persia, except for Alexander conquering Persia, and you don't hear a whole lot about Babylon, except maybe some in a biblical context, and they sort of avoid that within your schools. So any little bit of material that you can get that sort of allows you to study this in more depth, very much valuable. So this is definitely a good work for the occultist, just to sort of understand the rudimentary basis of some of these parts of mythology, specifically with regards to their conception of an afterlife, which at times develops. And there are other works, I think Pagan Ideas of Immortality mention this as well. Also a good work, and I think in the academic section, I've already edited that. That was from last year. Talking about how a lot of these groups, they didn't have an afterlife at first. It was just, hey, you're dead. You're in the grave. You then get a transference, and for a while you get sort of this afterlife where it's basically just like being on Earth, or it's just sort of a place of, it's the grave, like Shale. It's a place of repose, darkness. There's no real suffering. There's no real reward. You're just sort of there. Or you're just asleep, and it's sort of a stand-in for non-existence, as they could understand it back then. They couldn't understand how the consciousness could simply be destroyed. And then you get the divergence. Then you get, basically what happens is priests and stuff realize, hey, if we offer people a reward and threaten to punish them, with our gods, of course, they'll be more likely to do our bidding. They'll listen to the state more, they'll listen to the priesthood more. Oh, well, then if you do X, Y, and Z, you go to the land of milk and honey, and you'll have like 10 wives and a mansion and stuff. Don't try to get rich here on Earth. Let us do the being rich for you, just wait till you're dead. And if you don't do that, if you try to stop us or rebel against the state, then you go to this place where you get crushed with rocks for 1,000 years, and then that becomes eternal over time. Typically, it's not eternal punishment or reward until later on. It's the evolution of religion, you could say, or spirituality with regards to this topic. Very interesting. If you're into the Babylonian sort of lore that affixes to that, definitely a work that you should check out. Again, link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. Second and third links are to my books blogs. Again, more material available, especially Pagan Ideas of Immortality. I think it's in the academic section. It might be under the spirituality header. That's about all. Peace out.